showcasing local talent, professionals, and everyday people making Salt Lake City what it is today. It's time for another episode of the I Am Salt Lake podcast.
Here we are again.
One more time.
One more time. One more week. Welcome, everybody, to I Am Salt Lake podcast. I'm Chris Hollifield.
And I'm Chrissy Shelley.
We got a great show today. This is the part 2 of the Get Media Ready event interviews that took place September 10th at 50 West Club and Cafe right in downtown Salt Lake City. We have some great interviews on this episode. Bryce Prescott, he does the Rules of Success podcast. I am Mr. Prescott. He was actually one of the speakers that day. And we also have an interview with Jen Dahl.
Another speaker.
She was another speaker that day. She is the news director at KUTV Channel 2 News. And then our last, or you were going to say something there about her?
I just think these guys have a lot of insight.
Oh, they really do.
Yeah.
And our last interview on this episode is Christian Priskos. He is the director of digital media at City Weekly. Him and I actually started a little conversation up. And I was like, well, let's come back and record a little bit of an interview. He was really excited to record the conversation that we recorded. You'll hear his excitement in the interview.
He was a lot of fun.
He was. So, I mean, all three of these conversations, a lot of great content on digital media marketing. And
this is an episode people need to listen to if they really want to learn more about the media world.
Yeah. Well, especially Jen. I know she talks about kind of the shifting that Channel 2 is kind of making with...
and like the TV world.
Oh, yeah. Well, let's not give any spoilers.
Sorry.
But I know, hey, Chrissy, I know you're having a little bit of a difficult time coming into co-hosting this podcast. We were talking before we recorded this interview, and you were like, I still feel like I'm stepping on your toes.
Yeah.
And I don't like that.
I know. It's been a thing. I mean, should we talk about it now, or do you want to talk about it more later?
I want to talk about it now.
All right, here's the deal. You've got this smooth, sultry Tom Hanks voice.
Just get it out there, Chrissy.
Get it out there. I'm just going to get it out there. You're so professional, Chris.
No, I got
You're so damn professional.
I got problems.
Not on the mic, you don't. When you asked me to co-host, I just felt like I can't do that because it's going to ruin what he's created. And in the back of my head, I constantly feel like the listeners feel the same way.
I don't know.
I really do. I feel like they're like, okay, so we're listening to this wonderful interviewer who has this great voice and just makes this amazing podcast. And then this little like yippee chihuahua girl jumps on.
Is that how you think of yourself, as a yippee
totally.
chihuahua?
All the time.
No, you're awesome.
And I want to apologize if it really, because I understand it's change is hard, right? And when I'm listening to the podcast with you and me, whenever my voice comes on, I'm like, come on now. Why are you talking? And I know we actually had an email from a listener saying that at first she felt invaded.
Yeah.
When I came on. And it actually was really nice to hear that, because I'm like, I know. And I'm so glad that you said it, because like I'm very aware.
It's like, let's address the elephant in the room.
Yeah, I kind of want to address the elephant in the room. Maybe then I can just chill out and stop being so weird because I'm awkward.
And that's the thing, is I really want you to chill out, and I want you to relax. I mean, I'm going to say it right here, and I'm going to say it on the recording. I would maybe like even one day to bring a third co-host onto the podcast.
That would be fun.
I mean, I never saw I Am Salt Lake as a one-man show.
And I think that's what's interesting, is because you have never seen it. You have never seen it as a one-man show. But the audience is so used to it as a one-man show that this is a whole different dynamic.
Sure.
And that is hard to adjust to, especially when you love a show the way it is.
And I agree. And I just want to tell you, Chrissy, that I appreciate what you've brought to the table. I appreciate having you on the show as a co-host. It's taught me a lot. You're awesome in interviews. I mean, I think so.
Wow.
And
I'm inquisitive.
Nobody's complained about you. Nobody said anything about hating you. And so I want you to come in here, and every week I want you to have fun, because, without fun, these podcasts we don't want them to be a burden. Our day jobs already suck as they are. Right.
This is our one place where we can go to be ourselves and just enjoy what we're doing.
So I wanted to address that, and I want you to really feel like you're the team. You're part of the team. You're part of I Am Salt Lake podcast.
Well, thank you, Chris. Thanks for letting me address the elephant in my heart.
And we could even talk more about that after we're done with these interviews, like I mentioned at the Get Media Ready event. But I just wanted to bring that up.
Oh, well, thank you.
You bet. After the interviews, we're also going to be talking more about our upcoming live panel. We haven't announced this yet, but we're doing a live panel on domestic violence on Friday, October 14th. Make sure to mark this on your calendars. This is going to be a fun night. Chrissy's going to be there as well.
It may be an intense night.
I think so. I'm a little nervous. I'm not going to lie. Are you
nervous?
Well, I know. Because I don't want to say the wrong thing.
Right. And we actually talked about this, is that you're a little bit nervous. And I understand that. We're going to talk more about this later. But at the moment, you're a man.
Yeah.
And when you hear domestic violence, it's very like, doesn't your head just go, oh, man hating?
Well, let's talk more about it later. I do want to mention, go to iamsaltlake.com/domestic violence. This will send you over to the Eventbrite page where you can learn more about the show, buy tickets. Again, we're going to talk more about it after the 3 conversations that we had at the Get Media Ready event. But now this is my favorite time of the show, where we get to talk about our sponsors, the people that give us love. So we got to turn the love back around to them and give them love.
And it's easy. Easy to give these guys love.
Let's talk about Distillery 36 first. Because we're drinking some of their delicious Brigham rum right now. What are we drinking it with here?
Oh, so on Saturday, we went over to the farmer's market, as we do. And we actually picked up a bottle of the Blackberry Basil Ginger Beer from Garwood.
I pass this booth all the time.
Do you? Every time I pass it, I'm like, I need some.
And so when we stopped there yesterday, and you're like, let's get some ginger beer, I'm like, well, this is random. You know what I mean? Like, this is random.
I never told you that I think about it all the time, but I do.
So what did you get? Talk about what we're drinking here.
Well, so they have a regular ginger beer. And I wanted to stop and get their beet ginger beer that they had made last year, but that is discontinued. They have a new one called the Blackberry Basil Ginger Beer. That it's nice because ginger beer is so good, but it's so spicy. You know what I mean? It's kind of like spicy on your throat when you drink it.
I like that spiciness.
Do you?
Yeah.
I kind of like it, but then I think there's something wrong with me. Like, am I sick? Is that why it hurts? So we got this new one. It's a little bit smoother, a little bit less spicy. And we mixed it with some Distillery 36, and it's the best thing I've ever had.
You can't even taste the rum.
You can't.
Oh my gosh, it is ridiculous.
It's probably one of my favorite drinks
ever.
So,
I mean, what a way to go all local.
Yep.
You got this ginger beer plus the Distillery 36 Brigham rum. Mix it up. It does. You don't need to be a professional cocktail mixer to do this.
Like if you're having a party, go get these guys.
Absolutely. And you can pick up Brigham rum by Distillery 36 at any of your local state liquor stores. Well, I say any. I'm pretty sure they're at most of them.
They better be in any.
I know we pick it up right at the downtown liquor store.
I've never been to one where I haven't seen them.
But distillery36.com is their website. They're on Facebook. They're not on Twitter, which I kick them all the time for that. But like their page on Facebook. Let them know you heard about them on I Am Salt Lake podcast. Give them some love. I mean, those are some great guys over there at Distillery 36.
They are, and they make an amazing product.
And I know our favorite way to mix it up is through ginger beer. And so by getting the local ginger beer.
And this is definitely my favorite ginger beer.
I'm a fan.
Yeah, it's good.
Oleo Skin and Beard. They're also a sponsor of the podcast. I'm really excited to talk about them today because... So yesterday, well, actually, Derek from Oleo sent me a text message on Friday, and he said, Chris, I have a product I want you to try.
Which is so much fun. We get to test things a lot of the time.
I love it. I love working with Oleo on this. But he sent me a text, and that's all he said. I said, yeah, I'm going to be at the farmer's market. And he gave me a little jar of some beard butter. And I've been waiting for them to put this out because this stuff... I know, Chrissy, you can't, you don't understand how it is to have a beard. And I mean, lately, especially, my last barber, before I found my current barber, really screwed up my beard. And so I've been feeling really sad about my beard lately.
Yeah. It's been a rough month.
Oh my gosh, tell me about it. Shout out to Fuzzy Nate for helping fix my appearance. But anyway, Oleo, this beard butter is fantastic. It's really nice and soft. You just rub it in your beard. It helps sculpt your beard, helps soften the beard. It's got a great scent. I guess it's their Something's Familiar scent.
Oh, it smells so good. You put it on today, and I walked in the room, and I was just like,
I got a jar. I'm smelling it right now. I mean, do you want to smell that, Chrissy?
Yes,
just to kind
I
of get a
do.
refresher of what the scent is like. I mean, that is this is a wonderful product. And Derek said that they should have some at the next week's farmer's market.
Oh, for sale.
Yeah, they're going to have some for sale. So make sure to head on down there and let them know, especially you dudes with beards out there, that you heard about it on this podcast, because that way they know we're doing our job by telling you about them.
And I think this is going to be a really, really great product for people. I saw the look on your face when you opened it. You were so excited.
I've been waiting for something like this.
Yeah.
They're all their other products are really great. Their other beard balm is good, but I just needed something a little softer, when you have a longer beard. Their website, oleoskin.com, I imagine it's going to be up there on the website as well.
It better be.
Soon enough. But, somebody made a comment recently, actually today, about Farmer's Market. And I know we talked about them with the ginger beer and this. There's still like 4 more weeks of farmers markets.
Yeah, they're going to be a little chilly. But...
So, it's a perfect time to start stocking up. I hate to say it, but the holidays are right around the corner. Yeah. They really are. And especially women out there, if you got a dude in your life with a beard, pick up some beard butter, pick up some beard oil from Oleo.
This is the time to go holiday shopping. I'm really sad the farmer's market is ending.
Well, and they'll have the winter's markets and all of that.
Just not the same.
Again, oleoskin.com is their website where you can go buy more products. Many thanks to Distillery 36 and Oleo Skin and Beard for believing in this podcast and sponsoring it. But we have more to talk about after the interviews, but let's play the 3 interviews that we did as part of the Get Media Ready event. This is part 2. If you haven't listened to part 1, go back to the previous episode 243, and listen to some of those interviews. But anyway, anything you want to mention, Chrissy, before we get into these conversations?
Nope. No. Isn't that wonderful? I don't have anything.
That's good. But anyway, here we go. Thank you so much, everybody, for listening. Here are those conversations from the Get Media Ready event. Thanks for listening. All right. Well, it's been recording this whole time, but I'll cut all that out.
Nice.
It's Bryce Prescott, right?
Yes, sir.
Tell us about your business or startup or what you have going on.
Well, right now that's a great question, and thank you first and foremost for giving me the chance to share a little bit about it. It's we're here at the Get Media Ready event, and I'm getting ready to go on stage here in a bit to talk about social media, digital media, podcasting. And so the things that I've been doing for the last several years have been in the space of both podcasting and business and corporate consulting. My background has been in both mortgages and real estate, first and foremost, and then I transitioned to more of a global scale and did some agricultural commodity work for several years. And I found myself, and I'll tell a little bit of the story on stage, I found myself in a bar in Sao Paulo, Brazil, pretty devastated, thinking I needed to do something else. And I had listened to podcasts for the very first time on the flight down. And so came home, started looking into it, realized that it was a really short bridge to get into it. The entry point's easy. You basically just need a decent laptop, a good mic, and internet connection, and you're pretty much good to go.
And a lot of motivation.
And exactly. You've got to have a drive and ambition a little bit, because it's dry for a while until you get it going.
What is the name of your podcast before we go too far?
Oh, sure. It's called Rules of Success.
Okay. That way people can listen. I mean, check it out.
Sure,
check
It's well, here's the cool part about my show, and one of the things I'm really proud of about why I've created it and what I've created. When I was doing all those businesses that I had referenced before, right now I'm 41 years old, and I was at that time, this was several years ago, I had shitty relationships. My marriage was sputtering. I was out of shape. I was drinking too much. I was disconnected from myself. I hadn't creatively done anything that really got me going in years, and I just kept chasing money. And it was a soulless pursuit. Now, I was having this moment of like, what would I want to talk to people about? What is a message that would resonate in this market that could be something that would work for my experiences and my personality? And it came to me that I realized that there was a conversation that needed to be had with people that were in my same demographic, that we needed to address having a better life, not just having money.
Sure.
And that it is completely possible to focus on your business while you're focusing on your relationships, while focusing on your health and fitness and your spirituality. And so Rules of Success is a lifestyle and success entrepreneur-based podcast where we focus on those things. The guests that I have come in are experts in several different industries. I've interviewed celebrities and professional athletes and CEOs of large corporations, marketers. Basically, if you have a good story to tell and you promote balancing your life, you got an invite to come on my show. Another piece of my show is this, I've called it the development series, little 5 to 10 minute blips where I get wound up and I share some of my experiences and give a rule of success for those that are listening and help guide them along the way of their journey. And to go back again, my real motivation was I saw that there was a hole in the market. People weren't realizing that, just as much as you put your efforts towards in your business, if you go to your business and you look at your metrics, you see what's converting, you see who your customers are, you understand how much it costs to get a new customer, you understand what your sales bring you understand these different things, if you're running a successful business anyway. Mm-hmm. Why don't we apply those same principles to our lives, to our health and fitness? Why don't we measure the metrics of health and fitness? Why don't we do the same for our relationships? Why is it odd to schedule a date night with your spouse and to make sure that on a weekly basis you have that sort of spark available to you? It's just
like really have an ROI for every part of your life.
Yes, exactly.
Like
and some of the objections that I've been given to that sort of philosophy is like, well, it's not spontaneous. It really I'm like, well, go ahead and have your crappy life then, because it's really an interesting thing. When you step over that idea that by scheduling time and being really deliberate about where you focus your intent in all those areas, when you get over the fact that that's you don't think that that's spontaneous or the way to do it, you actually realize it's incredibly spontaneous. By setting fence posts in place where you can do something within that frame of time, you forget everything else, the white noise goes away of the stress of your life, and you're able to focus on that. So
you can be in the moment with it.
There you go. Yeah. Being present is something that hardly anybody is anymore.
What if your partner... I was in a marriage at one time, as a lot of people were.
As was I.
What if your partner, like with me, I always wanted to schedule, like you say, date nights, and then they're not receptive. They don't want to do it. They're like, oh, well, we've been together too long. I don't know. They just don't have it, but yet they still want to be married to you.
Right.
They still want to be in that relationship with you.
Right.
What do you do?
Well, that's a great question. And the way that I would approach that, and again, don't believe a word I say, just this is my perspective.
Sure.
My perspective in that is that there's this overlooked principle in life.
Sure.
Where people are willing to give away what's important to them in exchange for the approval of somebody else. So when it comes to like that specific scenario, I really don't have an answer specific to that, but I would back it out for... Well, sure, but I have a concept that actually could really help. So I've seen this happen way too many times in the life of my clients. One of the other projects that I have as a part of my wheelhouse is I do some business and personal consulting and coaching, helping people to traverse those thresholds. And the best thing that an individual can do for themselves in their marriage is to be better.
Just be a better person in general.
Be better at all of those things. So if you're getting resistance from those around you, that's okay. It's not their job to make you better. It's your own job. And so, as that cliche says, a rising tide raises all boats. You will have things that will shift around you as you make those decisions yourselves. Now, community and accountability is a big part of change. And so being able to have those around you to help do that is really important, but it doesn't have to be so A to B to C as what you've described there. So in a situation like that, it's like, okay, well, what can we do by continually putting your marriage as a priority? Your partner would come around or they wouldn't. And at that point, well, this isn't going to work.
And if you work on building yourself up and making yourself a better person, it's probably more attractive to your partner.
Absolutely.
And then they'll realize, oh, I would like to spend time with this person.
Well, that's,
instead of sulking.
Yes. Well, if you're okay with this, I want to touch on something that's happened to men actually in our culture.
I'd love that.
There's this natural kind of demasculation of men, that being a manly man is kind of a bad thing. Like there's this idea that you can't be grizzly, you can't be strong, like you've got to be,
gentle.
Dare I say?
I don't know. Chrissy loves the beard. You know what I mean? That's
I
the thing.
love me a beard.
That's because you understand sexuality and masculinity. Like there is a science,
but not
behind...
douchebag.
No, I'm not
you
saying...
don't have to be a douche.
No, absolutely not. But here's the thing: is
Yeah.
that so we have these there's some cognitive dissonance that happens. As young boys are being taught to be polite and to be friendly and to all these things, and not that those aren't great personality traits, obviously, but overlooking the fact that the power and benefit of masculinity is strength. Is protection.
And how do you find the line between masculinity, healthy masculinity, and toxic masculinity?
That's a great question. That's where you better yourself in understanding that it's only if it really is. It's tough to verbalize, but from an emotional and spiritual standpoint, the difference. Like so, for example. I'll give you an example. One of the things that's been powerful lesson I've learned in my life has to do with the dynamic in relationships specific to whose fault is what. Whose job is it for this? Like, was it my fault? Was it your fault? And there's this very kind of difficult principle to concept that is, it's nobody's responsibility to make me happy. I can't make you happy, Chrissy.
No matter how much you try.
And no, exactly. But as somebody that in this specific scenario, if I was in a relationship with you, it would be. I could create an environment that would make your choice to be happy easier. And
Very true.
And so with that, like that's I look at my relationships, like that's my thing. Like if I'm offensive to somebody around me, I recognize like, well, there's certain things I could have done, but ultimately it's on them to choose to be offended. Yes. And I can use that as a way that, well, maybe I could do this, but ultimately it's not my job to take upon myself the opinions and thoughts of everybody else around me. It's my job to be the best version of myself. And you'll
collapse under the stress of other people's emotions
if
you allow yourself to take it on.
You will shrink in being the person that you were meant to become.
Yeah, I agree with that. If
you can recommend to the listeners right now one book, I imagine you got a book that you would recommend to people. What book would you recommend?
Well, there's the book is called The Science of Getting Rich.
Okay, never heard of it. Have you heard of that, Chris?
I haven't.
Okay, so this is a fantastic story. I actually give away a free copy of this book at my website. If you go to IamMrPrescott.com, you can get. I give away a free copy there. It's an old book. It's a public domain.
Okay, and I'll put the link up with the show notes with this.
So here's the story behind that. I'm one of those guys that really does believe that thoughts are things. That dare I say it, the law of attraction is real. That the way that I go about my thoughts and my feelings and the way I express them can bring and attract to me a result that I like. And one of the things that gets happen in all this hullabaloo of the law of attraction is, the book The Secret, and there's all this stuff, like it does a disservice, in my opinion, to the law of attraction, because the key missing part of that message is that you actually have to be in motion for it to work. You can't just sit back, Indian style and expect money to fall on your head or good relationships or whatever. You actually have to be engaged in the act of a better life, inspired action. Wallace D. Wattles, the guy that wrote this book, it was one of the very, very first books of its kind. The one that was the first say like that, this thing between your ears actually emits through your thoughts this stuff that can bring things back, but you got to do something about it.
Yeah.
And one of the most famous books in history is a book called Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill.
Great book.
Okay. Napoleon Hill credits Wallace D. Wattles for some of the inspiration of what happened when he wrote Think and Grow Rich. So Wallace D. Wattles really is one of the godfathers of this whole kind of, movement towards being accountable for your thoughts and realizing that they play a part in what you achieve.
Awesome.
That's huge. I love that you put the law of attraction and actually the concept of, instead of just dreaming about things and making like a dream board or whatever people make,
so funny.
putting yourself emotionally in the place to attract the things.
Yes.
Like emotionally, mentally preparing is huge. And that's why the law of attraction works.
That's right. You
don't hear that very often.
You brought up something very interesting, which I don't want to go too long with.
No. We got as much time as you want to give us.
Well, let's see. We're good for a bit. Here's one of the beautiful things about when you start to dig in and to do the work about understanding the law of attraction, you start to realize some of the recipe isn't what you think it is. And what I mean by that is that when, you talked about a vision board or dream board. So if I have a Ferrari on my vision board, what do I really want? Like, do I really care about that hunk of metal and aluminum that's screwed together and has an engine with oil and gas? Or do I want the emotion of what I think that's going to provide me? Do I want the feeling of what it is? And when you dive into that, you go, okay, well, what is the feeling?
Yeah.
What do I really want? And it's like, well, I want the prestige. I want the notoriety. And then you realize, well, those don't reflect me. So what is it about that? And you could start to understand some of your blind spots as a person when you start to dig into what you really want. And not just, vision boards are great for a kindergarten level understanding of like, this is what I want. But when you start to dig into the form, the function of it, not the form of it, whole world opens up to you as far as understanding exactly what you really want. Because most of us really just want to feel loved and accepted, feel like we're contributing, and to feel successful.
Yep.
And every time I talk to somebody about specific things, material forms that they want, when you back out the conversation, you realize it just boils down to something like
that. There's always a reason behind it. It's not the actual thing.
Yeah.
That's very interesting. I'm actually reading a book called Mind Over Money right now.
I love that book.
Oh, it's a great book.
Yeah.
Everybody should read it.
She was telling me I need to read it.
I keep telling him. I'm like talking about I talk about it constantly.
Now that Bryce recommends it, I'm going to check it out.
Yeah, well, you have to get it from a man. We all know
Absolutely,
this.
right?
Brutal.
But yeah, I mean, a lot of the things you're saying are a lot of things he addresses in the book. And
Sure.
I think it's fascinating. Everybody should really dig into their own psyche a little bit and figure out why they want to accomplish the things they think they want.
Well, you got to wake up first to be able to do that. A lot of people aren't willing to.
A lot of
stop
people give
sleepwalking.
up. I mean, especially in our late 30s, early 40s, like you were mentioning.
Well,
I mean, we
it's
just kind of
easier.
give up. We start drinking a lot. You
just got to numb it. You can numb the monkey brain.
Yeah.
And then you don't feel anything and everything's okay.
We're not motivated to work out. We're not motivated to work out our brain, read a book. I mean, I work with a lot of guys at my day job that they're like, I haven't read a book for 20 years. And you're just like, what? Not even
Something
an audio
happens
book?
when you go too long without reading a book.
Yeah.
You really...
It's very true. There's certain things happen, like psychological, scientific things that happen in your brain where they just become closed. What are they called? The pathways or the dendrites or whatever the word is that
you don't really connect things anymore as quickly or easily as you can.
Yeah. Same thing. Ironically, the same thing happens when you let yourself get out of shape.
Yeah.
That your body, as I was talking about with the law of attraction, a lot of that knowingness of what you want is associated with feelings. And if you're not connected to your body in a healthy way, you're going to get convoluted ideas about what you really want.
So what do you give to somebody like myself? I'm trying to get motivated again to work out. I'm having a heck of a time doing it.
Yeah.
What would you say? What would you recommend?
I would recommend that first and foremost, we talked about metrics, measuring, documenting. Look at one of the first exercises that I would do for you, or do if I was you in this issue, I would start to not just schedule, but keep track of every minute of your day in half-hour increments.
Okay.
And by doing that, you'll realize where you're putting your time.
Okay.
And then all of a sudden you realize, I don't have the excuse of I don't have time anymore. And then from there, put yourself into a situation where it becomes not just on you for working out, whether it be join one of those, I don't want to call it a boutique type gym, but some place where like there's personalities involved that you work out with and that gets you there, because you'll never succeed by yourself.
Sure.
Yeah.
And that's not deprecating. It's just the truth. Like support from other people and community from other people is really the key to success. One of the rules of success.
How can the listeners find you again? Let's run down that list. I'll let you get out of here. I know you got to speak here shortly.
Sure. IamMrPrescott.com is my website. Every single one of my socials is at I am Mr. Prescott.
I know you're pretty much on all of them: Twitter,
Yeah.
Facebook, Instagram.
Yep. Snapchat.
What do you think? Really quick, what do you think of Snapchat?
I'm confused.
Yeah. I love it, but at the same time, it's tough because you can't build a new audience with
Yeah.
it. You have to work with your audience you already have, I guess.
Yeah, I was really pleased when Instagram kind of copied them and took the photo type of social media and had the stories feature there, because it seemed a lot more fluid than just the solo kind of Snapchat.
Sure,
type thing.
sure.
Anyway, that's a whole different conversation.
Before I do let you go, do you have a motto or a piece of advice that you want to tell the listeners?
Just do you. Just find out what you want out of your life. That's the first thing. I mean, most people really haven't gotten clear on what they really want.
Sure.
Not what they think they should want, not what their spouse wants for them, what they really want. And then from there, you can reverse engineer it and figure out how to get it.
Cool. Anything else you want to ask him, Chrissy, before we let him get out of here? I feel like we've hogged a lot of his time.
Oh,
but I love it.
I dig it. I'm on board with everything you're saying.
Well, I appreciate the opportunity, guys. It's been
Cool.
great.
Thanks for
thank
talking.
you. Anyway, we're back with Jen Dahl at the Get Media Ready event here at 50 West. Thank you so much for sitting down and chatting. I'm going to actually back up a little bit and kind of get a little bit of your story. Share with the listeners what you're involved in, your business, what you do. I know you're involved with a lot of media. Mm-hmm. What is it exactly that you do?
So my professional background currently is in television, and so I work for the parent company that owns KUTV here in Salt Lake City, right on Main Street. And so prior to this current job that I'm in, I was the news director at KUTV. So I showed up in Salt Lake in 2002. 3 weeks before the Winter Games, and fell in love with Salt Lake and have not left. Was born and raised in Detroit, so a Detroit girl who fell in love with Salt Lake.
So that was a big transition.
Huge transition.
To come to Salt Lake City.
It was a huge transition, but the people at KUTV are just really, really amazing. And I downsized markets, and it was a lateral move from a title perspective. Mm-hmm. But for me, it's always been about people, and the people at KUTV are pretty amazing. So I did my job at KUTV and then left for a little while and was able to kind of expand my reach and and that's how I met Nineveh. Is then I switched sides and was a consultant for the parent company of Fox 13. And that's how Nineveh and I got to know each other. And then travel got a little too hard, and I moved back to KUTV, was the news director there since 2010, and then because of the success we've had, they were kind enough to offer me a corporate job. So now I oversee 14 markets in the West.
Oh, wow.
And so my job is to work with the general managers at each station, along with the news directors like Lee here was today, and make sure that the product matches the brand, matches the promise, that we're not jeopardizing any editorial. Mark and Shauna have been around for a long time. Ron and Mary have been around for a long time, celebrating them and just making sure the content reflects the great state that we live in.
So being involved with media, it's constantly changing and shifting and
Yes.
moving. How do you stay up on all that?
It's really hard, to be honest with you. 4.5 years ago, podcasts were non-existent, or at least not in the mainstream,
Right.
And so, like everyone else, I'm addicted to my cell phone, my smartphone. But I stay up on trends. I take a look at, there's a free newsletter called TV News Check, and that kind of keeps you up to date on kind of what the pulse is. I'm an NPR junkie, so Serial is one of my favorite podcasts.
Well, I was going to ask that.
Yeah.
What do you think of podcasting? Since we're doing it.
I absolutely love it.
Do you think it's going to be the mainstream?
Absolutely.
Do you see that happening?
Yeah, I think it's the same. I think what is happening now, media in general, whether you're a television station or a newspaper or a radio, this is essentially radio, everyone is migrating towards give people what they want when they want it.
Yeah.
We all are.
Everyone wants on demand.
Correct. So. Exactly. And so I view a podcast the exact same way I view on demand, or, I don't know if I'm a loyal newspaper. I'm a newspaper junkie. It's where I got my start. And so I get the paper every day. And
that's awesome.
And I open it up and I breathe in the print and I look through the paper. But a lot of times I will have already read the articles because Salt Lake Tribune has taken an effort to, and Deseret News as well, to publish the stories on the web before they come out. So if you go tonight and look at the Salt Lake Trib's website, tomorrow's front page will already have been posted.
True.
And because you have to meet what the demand is, and that's exactly what you said.
And they have to go on both platforms.
Correct. Yeah. And so, look, you're going to get it however you want it. The same way people love Kindles, other people are purists when it comes to reading books, right? So I think the great thing about podcasts and on demand and Kindles and electronically, it gives people what they want when they want it.
Yeah. I agree. It's easy to take it with you. Do you think it's going to challenge some of the more mainstream? How do you think the newspaper market and magazines will be affected?
Well, I think
by digital media.
Well, I think a lot of people are learning. And, it's this fine balance because not only are you talking about the editorial side, you really have to look at the reality of where the money's coming from.
Yep.
And even though this is fabulous, the majority of money still is on traditional radio, right?
Yeah.
It's still on traditional TV. Newspapers have kind of blended it, and I think everyone's taking their cues from what happened in the newspaper industry and trying to adapt accordingly. My company in particular, they have created technology which is pretty amazing, where there'll be an antenna in your phone, so you'll be able to get local television stations in 3 years.
That's
Nice.
cool.
With an internal antenna without buffering. Doesn't that bug you when you buffer and you're waiting for the data services?
It wouldn't be related to Wi-Fi at all. It's like strictly radio broadcasting. Is it radio waves?
Well, it's actually a frequency. There will be an internal antenna in your phone, and as long as it can
Connect
to the television signal.
That's actually very revolutionary.
It really is,
Wow.
and that's the CEO of my company kind of has been talking about it for years. We did a big presentation in front of all the national broadcasters in April. And you guys know, podcasts 4 years ago were nothing, and now it's Serial, I think, kind of changed that for a lot of...
Well, I started this podcast 4 years ago.
Did you?
And when I would tell people, hey, do you want to come on my podcast? Well, what is that? Now when I tell people that, they know what it
true.
is.
Right.
And still sometimes I get people like, what's a podcast? Can you explain how do you find it? Like I've had to take my hairdresser's phone and show her how to find podcasts.
Sure.
So we still have a long way to go.
Yeah, absolutely. But I think it's a tremendous opportunity for all of us to share a message.
Yeah.
And I think that's the other thing too. We're sitting here at 50 Market Street. Radio from Hell has been on the air forever. People for the longest time wanted to be able, when they moved away, you would hear Carrie, Bill, and Gina talk about, somebody's emailing me right now. They're in Alabama and they miss us so much. Mm-hmm. Well, podcasts give them the opportunity, to not only a live stream, because, we kind of evolved from live broadcast to live streaming, but that still means you have to be able to listen or watch on a device at the exact same time. But podcasts let you say, I really like Carrie, Bill, and Gina, but I'm in Alabama. Maybe I'll listen to them tonight on my way home from work.
Well, I podcast a lot of Radio from Hell, and I can get it right here on the radio. But I'm not awake at 6 a.m, but I want to hear what they have to say.
Absolutely, right?
So exactly. What do you think your greatest achievement is? Next question. I know we just talked about podcasting, but you're a busy person.
Yeah.
Do you have like a greatest?
You're a wife, mother, hard worker.
What do you,
I think my greatest achievement is relatability.
Okay.
I can walk into a room and assess a situation and adapt. Our guest speaker was a little late, and so I had to stretch today. And so they kept going like this, which is why I was walking around and talking to people and asking them questions, because
well, you did a great job.
You really did. I was like,
I when I watched you, I'm like, I got to get her on the podcast.
Oh, thank you.
I want to chat with you.
But that's a product of being in the industry, and I'm not as good as Carrie, Bill, and Gina. I'm not as good as Mark Cabell and Shauna Lake or Ron and Mary in the morning on KUTV. They're used to it. But as a news director and as an executive in your company, you're just constantly thrown things that you
have to go with the flow.
Yeah, there used to be a time where I didn't prioritize myself, where I would walk in the front door and before I got the 50 paces to my office, 7 people would come to me and it would derail my entire day. Not that I don't love them and not that I don't think that their concerns are important. I have to be able to prioritize whether I think their concern as important as they think their concern is. Does that make sense?
And you gave great advice on that today in your talk.
Yeah.
How you can address the person, say, I realize it's important to you. It's important to me, but we need to talk about it at a different time.
And we can schedule that time.
Yeah.
And that way you're not feeling rushed. I'm not feeling rushed.
Yeah.
And there's a time and place. And I think that's the hardest part about managing, whether it's television or a grocery store, the human element.
Oh, yeah.
I like to call it, instead of human resources, I call it human relations, because you're really dealing with the emotions of people. And that really, if you don't know how to manage it correctly, it can really suck up 80 to 90% of your day if you let it.
Love it.
Oh, it absolutely will.
what would you recommend? A lot of young entrepreneurs here today. What would you recommend? Say someone's listening. Say they were here today. I mean, what would you? Is there any piece of advice that you would tell them, or that you would recommend to them?
I think it's, what is your mission?
Sure.
And live and breathe that mission every single day. If your mission is to sell widgets, what is my mission? It's to sell widgets, not to get distracted by the other widget maker. You know, I mean, you look at Steve Jobs. He didn't really, I mean, yes, he kept an eye on what Windows was doing, but he knew his market was not the business person. Sure. It was the personal consumer. And so the personal consumer from this level, you know, I work in Windows and I work on my iPhone. I like the ease of it when I'm in my personal life, but I appreciate the professionalism of, say, a Windows Outlook when I'm in my professional life. Right. I actually have, my married name is different than my work name, so that I separate my life like I separate my iPhone versus my Windows Outlook.
That's a great idea.
I compartmentalize everything so that I can say, okay, it's 7:00, Jen Dahl's done. Jen Lewis, mom, is ready to kick into gear.
I love that.
That really is. I mean, I think that's a great tip for most professional women.
Yes.
Because it's, if I may go there.
No, let's go there.
Like, as a woman, it feels like everything tends to fall on your shoulders all the time.
Yes.
Like, everything at home is your job and responsibility. Everything the kids need to do is your job and responsibility. And then you go to work, and you have to be able to clear your head and focus at work and not bring any of that. So it's a brilliant idea to be able to compartmentalize that in your head.
Yeah, it's, and you know, I am fortunate enough that my husband is a stay-at-home dad, which is also kind of revolutionary. You know, when he started in 2007, you know, it's more mainstream now. But I feel I have a responsibility as a mom and as a role model to my girls to set the boundaries and show them, look, you can say no, and you can push back, and you can, you know, you don't have to please everyone. You can stand your ground, be respectful, but, you know, and so my husband is way more patient than I am. I'm way more, because I can make a decision in 2 seconds. I have to, otherwise I'd be paralyzed, right?
Oh, yeah.
And he's more nurturing and loving, but they still look to both of us. I mean, you know, and they know how to work us.
Oh, totally. Kids are great at that.
Yes.
Let's run down. How can people get a hold of you? I mean, is there a way to get a hold of you at all?
Yeah, you
or
know
how
what?
can they find you? Websites?
So through KUTV.com, I think people can find me. There's a drop-down menu. And so if not, you know, I'm with Sinclair Broadcast Group, which is the parent company. So get in touch with somebody at KUTV and they can track me down. Pretty sure I'm on that drop-down menu. You know, I have a Twitter feed, and I have a Jen Dahl Lewis is my Facebook page. You know, I just post cute pictures of my kids. That's about it on that page.
Sure. Well, excellent. Any other questions? I want to let her go. I appreciate you sitting down and chatting with us and sharing a little bit about your story to the rest of Salt Lake City.
And I think your advertising advice today was the most brilliant thing I'd ever heard.
Oh, I thought I was just, you never know when you get, I mean, that was kind of, that last one was kind of.
It was so great. I was like, this woman is brilliant.
Well, it's just, you know, and that's it. Like, you have to know what your mission is, and you have to know what your comfort level is.
Yes.
Because somebody who has that kind of product, you could be risky, but other people may not be in that comfort zone, you know?
Right.
Look at Polygamy Porter. Look at Squatters. He was comfortable making fun, and he was willing to take the risk.
Yeah.
Well, and especially when he started
in
taking
2002, right?
Yeah, I remember seeing Provo Girl and some of those, you know.
That is,
that was
he pushed a lot of buttons.
Yeah.
And so I'm not suggesting that you go offend half of the audience, but what I'm saying is you need to evaluate for yourself, and you need to stand up and say, okay, I'm ready to jump off this building.
Yeah.
Am I comfortable with the consequences? And he was.
Go for it.
He was.
And he's done well.
He's done very well.
But I love that you told people to get outside your comfort zone and be bold.
Yes.
That's just fantastic advice.
Because I can learn a lot from that. Anyway,
Me too.
Thank you so much.
Well, thank you so
We'll
much
end
for
it there.
having me. Thanks.
Okay, well, we'll get started. We're back here at the Green Room at 50 West at the Get Media Ready with Christian Priskos.
Correct.
And you're with City Weekly, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
City Weekly.
Let's start there. What do you do at City Weekly?
Yeah, so my role is the Director of Digital Development. I actually was brought on about a year and a half ago. I born and raised in Salt Lake City, Holiday, Utah. Went away to Tampa, Florida for college.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's a change.
Very, very different change, right? And I kind of wanted to get out of the bubble. If you guys are from Salt Lake City, I think you know what that means.
Yeah.
So got out of the bubble and did my thing in Tampa for about 5 years. I worked out for a marketing company out there, and long story short, we good friends of City Weekly, just our families and everything. We just kind of knew everyone, and I was the kind of guy that they said, hey, let's build the digital division.
Oh, wow.
This is where everything's going. So essentially, I'm the Director of Digital Development for Copperfield Media, right?
And what exactly is that? I mean,
So-
I don't even know what.
And no one does, and that's kind of the beauty of it, right?
You don't even know
Yeah,
what it
so
is, right?
Copperfield Media owns and operates Salt Lake City Weekly, as well as another weekly in Jackson, Wyoming, called Planet Jackson, right? Obviously 25 years ago, that's kind of where Salt Lake City Weekly grew up, right? And over the years, we've acquired different papers, and the cool thing is we've transformed into this full service media marketing and advertising agency, right? So if you guys have seen, we have Salt Lake City Weekly, obviously. We have our Devour magazine. It's our culinary magazine. I don't know if you've seen that
I
one.
saw some of them out there.
Yeah.
Looks
So
delicious.
that's,
Great magazine, by the way.
Very, high imagery, very beautiful. So that's our culinary magazine. We have Van Moose, Utah, which is an outdoorsy magazine. We have Planet Jackson Snowboarder, which is a snowboarding magazine in Jackson. We have a couple other magazines like that. So that's obviously the print division, right? And then we've kind of pivoted to we have these divisions. We have the print division, the City Weeklies, and the Jacksons. We have the magazine division, the Devours, and such not. We have the event division. So you guys have probably heard of the Utah Beer Festival. That's all of us, right? You might have heard of the Utah Pizza Party. That's all of us, right? The Best of Utah.
I
That's
wanted
all
to
of us.
take Chrissy to the pizza
man.
party,
Oh, it's so good.
Did
but
I miss it?
we missed it.
Oh,
We'll get you
man.
guys an invite for sure next
All right,
time. So
all right.
it's an awesome party,
I'm
right?
there.
Good. It's a fun time. So events like that, right? And then we also have a lot of people really don't know, which is the hidden secret of Utah, is the City Weekly store. You guys familiar with it?
Say that again.
The City Weekly store.
City
Oh,
Weekly.
I didn't know there was a-
Yeah,
I didn't
that's
know
like
there
to
was a
buy
store.
coupons and stuff
Yeah.
like that. I'm on the
What?
email list.
Yeah. So what we do, I know.
It's like
I'm-
Groupon. It's like Groupon.
I'm on your email list.
yeah. So
Through the email list?
it's. Well, we probably promote ourselves through the main email list. Depends. We have like about 5 or 6 email lists, right?
Yeah. I'm on one of them.
One of them, right? You'll probably see some ads somewhere for it.
Yeah.
But essentially, what you can do is I can go onto that store and let's say Gracie's, for example. I can buy a deal to Gracie's. So it's all local coupons, right? All of who City Weekly is, we just make sure that we drive people to their restaurants, their businesses, everything. So that's an e-commerce store, right?
Yeah.
From there, we actually have what is my newly founded division, the digital division. So essentially, the cool thing about us is we do programmatic advertising. That's kind of a specialty. We also do SEO, websites, logos, full service.
Yeah.
But the cool thing about it is, no one can provide, let's say this podcast, for example, advertising that does print in any type of magazine or City Weekly that's local, events like the beer festival, sponsorships, digital division, obviously the programmatic advertising, the logos and such,
Yeah.
at a discounted price, right? At a price that we can bundle everything and really give you that full service punch that you guys need everywhere.
Especially for local businesses. I mean,
Exactly.
they can't, not a lot of them have the resources to do all of that.
Exactly. So that's kind of what I was brought on to do, and is to help grow that. And so, we've been a year and a half, and the digital division is called Copperfield Digital Services. It's going to be copperfielddigitalservices.com. I'm sorry, copperfielddigital.com, and I'm building my website right now, so it's almost done. But it's going to be pretty cool, and providing all of our advertisers just more for what they're doing, especially now that digital is so important.
Yeah, it
Where
really
do
is.
you see yourself? I mean, the long term, or is that kind of tough to answer?
I can answer that. I see ourselves as and to be frankly honest with you, there's companies that have already done this.
Sure.
Bigger companies that have said, okay, print is not dead. Just so you know, 98% of our papers get picked up. 98% every single week. Oh, print's dead. That's not true.
I
It's
still
not
pick
dead.
up a City Weekly.
Exactly.
Yeah,
right?
me too.
You paw through.
I have
it.
one in my car right now.
Gotta have one on the toilet, right?
Yeah.
When
So the reason why it's so important is because we can provide that value, that local value, right? And long term, I see is is you need some alternatives. Well, we can provide digital for you. We can provide magazine. We can provide events. We're that one-stop shop, and we're growing that to where we're starting to get a lot of retention now. We have bigger clients now. We do a lot of really cool things for really cool people, and that's the beauty of the job is the connections, meeting people like you guys, right? Where I had no idea that you guys had this podcast, and I was telling you guys earlier, one of my dreams is to have a podcast and to actually talk on a podcast, and I'm sitting here with a smile on my face.
Here you are,
and I'm a huge smile on my face, and I just can't believe right now what is happening. So it's awesome,
and that's what I wanted when I came up with I Am Salt Lake, like we were talking. I wanted to give this an opportunity for the little people to get their spotlight.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. It's not a lot of podcasts are so. I can only go after these big movie stars or these famous people. But you know what? If it wasn't for people like you, Christian, that was doing what you're doing here in Salt Lake City wouldn't be what it is.
Exactly.
And that's what I'm trying to portray with this podcast.
Awesome.
So thank you for what you do.
Thank you.
Yeah,
you know what
people
I mean?
in your position don't have the opportunity a lot to get out in front of people.
I mean, City Weekly's been great too. I mean, I've gotten awards with City Weekly with this podcast, so thank you. City, I want to say that to you while you're here.
Well,
thank you to City Weekly for if it wasn't for what City Weekly does, it wouldn't certain things like this podcast and other local musicians and other local artists, they wouldn't get the spotlight.
And you know what? Well, thank you for that. And, we obviously appreciate this kind of stuff, and that's kind of what our background is. Is Salt Lake is such a unique place that nobody knows about, really. I mean, people know about it, obviously, but for example, right, I like I said, I went to school at the University of Tampa in Florida, and people would think, okay, you probably met a lot of Floridians. Well, that's kind of not the case. There's a lot of people that came down from the East Coast and the Midwest that came to Florida because that's essentially their California, right?
Yeah.
So I meet all these random people. So long story short, I have friends coming out here, and they're actually, since this is local, everyone will understand this. I dropped them off. They had my car, and they went up to Park City. And I said, do some cool things, whatever. And they come back, and at the end of the day, and they're just all bloody and scraped up. And I'm like, what'd you guys do? And he goes, well, we thought we had to do some rad shit. So we were driving down the canyon, and part of this canyon, we just pulled over to the right and just climbed up one of those mountains. Like, what the hell? And then they scroll down. And so, but the very end, they're like, I would have never been able to do this anywhere else. And this place is so cool. We took them to a Twilight concert after. I would never believe all of this stuff that is here in Utah.
Wow.
And, I think we have Salt Lake Cityans, right? Have this really cool and proud perception that, we're from Salt Lake. Yeah, we can go to Florida and get made fun of. How many wives do you have? All that kind of stuff, right?
Sure.
But at the same time, they come here and go, wow, this place is cool.
It's a hidden gem. It's
very rich in culture that they're not aware of it.
Yeah. Sure.
Whenever I go out of state, people say, watch out for those Mormons.
Yeah.
And I'm like, there's so much more.
There's so much more.
You guys just need to go visit. Just come visit. We'll show you around.
What's the best piece of advice that you've ever received?
Oof, that's a hard one. Sticking with what you believe in, I think.
Sure.
I have my father and my family. They've come. My father's family came from Greece, so they believed in what they had to come over here, and they had to start a business. They had to build a family. And my mom's side did the same thing, not from Greece, but from other parts of Europe. Same type of thing. So they're true immigrants, right? Maybe down the line immigrants, but their family came from different places. So whatever this, the best piece of advice is do what you believe in, right? Whether it's, creating a podcast because you believe in it, right? Or whether it's, trying to help City Weekly grow into a digital division. I just truly believe in what I do, and I think I'm just happier as a person doing that, right? I'm not as stressed, but it makes me feel great, when you come up to the booth and we start talking about City Weekly and say, God, I really love City Weekly.
Yeah.
And, I'm a younger guy. I'm 24 years old, and hearing that, and I really don't understand that, right? When I came back and people are, oh my, I really, we make a difference.
Yeah.
So I think that is the best part. I think someone just fell.
I think someone got hurt.
So that's my long answer to that one. So.
So do you find it difficult? How do you oversee all of those digital divisions? Do you have to do it for every
kind of, right? So it's interesting because there's a lot of work that goes into it, right? But I'm more on the advertising side, right? So I'd help you guys grow as a company, right? But at the same time, I still have to manage a little bit of the digitals for like maybe the Devour, right? Making sure everything's good there. Obviously the City Weekly website, we have different tools and stuff that we've been able to build partnerships with different companies around and the funny thing is they want to work with City Weekly. Why do you guys want to work with City Weekly? Because we have the connections, right? We have that relationships, 25 years of relationships. This is what happens, So it's not hard. It's fun. It's a lot of work, but sometimes you have to go in on the weekends, so that's okay because I like my job. So great. It's fun, and I'm very, very fortunate that I was able to be in a position that I am at such a young age to really showcase my talent and actually help make a difference. So.
Did you make it over to the Greek festival? You mentioned that you had Greek heritage. Did you make it over there this week?
I went there. Actually volunteered. Which is did
you help make the food?
I did not help make the food, but I wish. Actually, that probably not have been a good idea. I'm not the best cook, but if you're Greek in Utah, you have to volunteer. That's just the rule, right?
Sure.
So I helped out with the cash registers last night for about 4 or 5 hours, and it's awesome.
We were there last night.
We were there last night.
We went last night.
Maybe we saw each other. We rung you up. I don't know. That'd be crazy. That'd be crazy, right?
Well, it's cool. We've actually never been inside the church, the Orthodox Church, the Greek Orthodox Church. So we got to look around. We got to check out the museum.
Yeah, I was so excited.
We gained 10 pounds probably with all the pastries and
what
food
pastries?
there.
That's the real question. What pastries do you guys have? Do you remember?
All right. Yes, sort of.
And can you pronounce them? That's the real question.
Well,
baklava.
There you go.
So I had the macaroons and what? There was another one.
Oh, it was like
a custard.
It was a custard.
Yeah,
but I don't remember what it's
called.
called.
Now you're making me blank. I don't know.
It's delicious.
Yeah. Oh, so like everything else. There's how about do you guys have the honey balls? Those are my favorite.
You know what we did? And I saw people eating them.
Yeah.
They look like donuts, right? Like big donut balls. Oh,
those are the best.
Maybe we'll have to go back tomorrow.
I think you guys are gonna have to.
I do need to gain another 10 pounds. It's on my list. So this is a good way to do it.
Well, no, that's great. Yeah, no, I just had to bring that up.
The cheesecake baklava.
Yeah.
Oh, I heard that was good. I heard that's good. I heard that's really, really good.
I just had to throw that in there.
Yeah.
Awesome.
On that same note, I ask people that come on the podcast a lot, and I'm going to ask you because I have faith that you have at least one favorite place, but I ask favorite local eating spots.
Ooh, okay. Hidden gem. You guys ready for this one? And there's a reason for it, too. Breakfast, The Other Place. You guys ever been to The Other Place?
I've heard of it.
Okay, well, originally it was...
Where's it at? Remind me where it's at.
It's across from Rye, on the other side of the street, on the west side of the street, if you're...
Rye over there by Urban Lounge?
Yeah, across from Urban Lounge on the west side of the street. They're building a brand new building. It's right now. I think there's a taqueria.
Oh,
Blue taqueria or something.
Taqueria 27?
No, it was
that's over by Beer Bar.
Something. I can't remember the exact address.
It's The Other Place anyway.
The Other Place.
But it's
really
good.
Right? Google it, right? Mm-hmm. Before that, it was personally my family owned the Royal Eatery. It's on Main and 4th.
So that's your family owned.
That was our family owned.
Now Apollo Burgers going there, right? Which is Greek.
Wow.
Greek. The other place is Greek as well, but that's kind of how our family started was the Royal Eatery. So we were very fortunate to my uncle who slaved away behind the kitchen for however many years. He got to a position where people want to buy him out, and that's kind of what happened. And he obviously got a great deal out of it. But side note, anyways, the other place, right? The reason that's the best is if you're hungover, like really hungover, you go there and you get
which most of the listeners are.
Which most of you guys are. And so you got to go there and you got to get the marinated pork and eggs or the pile. One of the two, the best, right?
Holy cow, that
but
sounds good.
The reason it's the best is the dinner there, right? If you guys like lamb chops, oh my God. Best lamb chops in Salt Lake City, Utah, period. Really? No question about it.
Okay.
I'm probably going to piss off a couple people just saying that, but that's just my opinion. You get the lamb chops, and then you get a side of spaghetti with some Lazithor cheese on it, and there's nothing that beats it.
Okay.
Nothing.
That sounds so good. I want to go there.
That's your task for the weekend.
Excellent.
Is to go try those out.
I like homework like that.
I have listeners that make lists of recommendations, and I don't think anybody's ever recommended The Other Place.
No, that's
or
the
even
best.
talked about the Royal Eatery.
Yeah,
which I mean, that to me that was a landmark of Salt Lake City, on the corner of 400 South there, Main Street.
We were just looking at old newspaper articles about it.
Over at the Greek church at the festival,
a
lot of old pictures of it. I mean, there is so much Greek.
It's just crazy.
The Greek culture is
the Greek culture in Salt Lake. I actually would love to connect further with you and actually do a few episodes on the Greek culture.
Really?
Of Salt Lake.
That'd
Maybe
be
you can put me in touch.
Yeah, I can definitely put you. I
people.
mean, let's put it this way. the owner of Salt Lake City or Copperfield Media is Greek, John Saltis.
Oh, nice.
Greek guy from
Well, didn't he started City Weekly? Didn't John Saltis started
It was
City
private
Weekly?
eye first, and then it transformed to the City Weekly. If your listeners understand, or know what that is,
The
it's kind of how
history.
the history. It's kind of how it transformed. But I'm sure he'd be very willing to get on a podcast and talk
I'd
about
love
the
to
Greek
bring-
history.
Those Greeks know how to work.
I would love.
Oh, yeah.
How to create things.
Yeah.
It's amazing how many of them have built businesses here, very succcial
A
businesses.
lot of successful businesses that you don't even know that a Greek's owning it, right?
Yeah.
And just kind of
I had no idea.
Those Greeks are owning it.
and I'm proud of it. I'm very proud of it. I'm glad that we can be a part of Salt Lake City. Maybe
Yeah.
that's why I love it so
Well,
much.
thank you
It's-
so much.
it's how it works.
So great.
So
But how can people? City Weekly. What's the website for City Weekly?
yeah, cityweekly.net.
.net.
So essentially on cityweekly.net, we events. Obviously, we showcase events. We have obviously articles. Everything you read in the City Weekly, we can go over there. But there's other cool things to do on there too. See social media posts from other different kind of restaurants and bars and clubs and all that kind of stuff. So if you're looking for something to do, go to cityweekly.net and kind of look around.
How
Find
can
something.
people? Do you care? Like if listeners maybe they want to reach out to you? Is there a way to reach out to
course.
you? or
If you want to reach out to
email
me
or Twitter or
listeners,
something?
about anything, I'll give you my email address. That's probably the best way, whether it's
Okay.
business, whether it's just talking, whether it's, anything. I really don't care. I love talking to people. So
Sure.
it's cpriskos at cityweekly.net. That's CPRISKOS at cityweekly.net. Social media, I'm not a huge Twitter guy. I just don't like it. I have an Instagram. You can just search my name, Christian Priskos. I'm sure it'll pop up on my Facebook. So yeah, let's become friends.
Awesome.
Anything else you want to add, Chrissy, before we let Christian go? I thank you again so much.
Thank you guys, and once again,
thank you.
dream come true. I'm in the back of a green room. I'm never expecting this to happen. You just made my whole weekend, let alone my whole year, because I'm on a podcast. So I'm loving it.
That makes my day. I don't know if that
There you
makes
go.
I
your day.
feel that way every time I record.
Yeah.
This is awesome. I get
This
to be
is
on a
awesome.
podcast.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's
But,
true. It's so fun.
Thank you again so
Thanks.
much. We'll end it there.
appreciate it. Thanks,
Absolutely.
guys.
Thank you.
All right. Many thanks to everyone at Get Media Ready for coming on this episode. Bryce Prescott, Jen Dahl, and Christian Priskos. Go to iamsaltlake.com/244 for all the links, for all the notes, for everything, and connect with them. Let them know you heard them on this episode of the podcast. We had some really good conversations. Hopefully everybody got something out of those. I know we talked about that in the last episode, Chrissy,
Yeah.
but that was such a fun day.
It was really fun because we kind of got a quick fire talk to a lot of people who had a lot of insight. So it was really helpful for us, and it's so fun to share it with everybody.
It was a great networking tool, networking event. And there are some more interviews that we still didn't get up. I mean, I don't want to bog down all of these podcasts.
We have to make 2-hour episodes if we did them all.
And I really want people to get nuggets and bits and pieces from these conversations. It's all about learning here.
Yeah.
It's all about connecting. Reach out to these individuals and let them know you heard them. Like I said, check out what they do. Subscribe to their podcast. Check out their publications. And let them know that you heard about them on this podcast. Let's talk about our domestic violence uncensored.
Let's do it.
I Am Salt Lake Live. It's happening Friday, October 14th. This is going to be something different.
At the Sorensen
This is at
Community
the
Center?
Sorensen Unity Center.
Unity Center.
Their address is 1383 South, 900 West, right in Salt Lake City. Again, just go to iamsaltlake.com/domestic violence, all one word. It's going to forward you over to this Eventbrite. It's where you can purchase tickets.
We have a feeling they might be sold out, so try to purchase tickets early.
Yeah, seating is limited. I mean, we can't, unfortunately, let everybody in. There's been a very big response of excitement for this show. It's something different, though.
It's a hard thing to say that it's exciting, but it is. It's kind of because it is a touchy subject.
It is a touchy subject, but it's exciting that we're going to talk about it. And what I'm hoping will happen is we'll be able to open it up to the audience and they'll be able to kind of even share some of their stories.
I know and I know this is the wrong word, but I'm pretty excited for this event. I know you're a little bit nervous.
Oh, horribly nervous.
I know, but as a woman, I've discussed with other women. We talk all the time. Things happen to women that they never talk about, and I know that men are also abused. That's everybody.
Well, I think the hardest thing is I've always thought of I Am Salt Lake as this fun podcast.
Yeah.
Where it's that one time a week where we can let down our hair and just say, you know what? We're not the typical norm here in Salt Lake City.
Right.
We're not your normal people that you think of. And so typically that's something that we discuss. We don't typically discuss politics, and we don't typically discuss, all of these really heavy subjects because they get discussed in other outlets.
Right. And it is a really heavy subject, obviously. And this is interesting to me. I know this is a weird connection because my brain does that. But we are in Utah, and we're going to be going to a panel about domestic violence. There was actually a book written by an LDS author a long time ago called Secrets.
Really?
Yeah, and it was a novel, a fictional novel based on real experiences of abuse within families in the LDS church. And so I think it's really interesting. It kind of brought me back to remembering when I read that as a 14-year-old.
I'll have to check that book out.
Yeah, it was really good. I like that we're going to be addressing things that are real. It's fun. I love talking about things that are fun and exciting, but there is stuff going on that people don't talk about. And I think it's really healthy to discuss those things.
It is. And again, I mean, I'm sure it will be a little bit overwhelming for some, but I want to see everybody there. I want to meet, I love to meet listeners of the podcast. Go to iamsaltlake.com/domestic violence. Find out more about it. Buy your tickets. I mean, they're only $5.
Yeah, we're going to get very real, guys. It would be awesome to see you there.
It really would. Let's go down the list. I want to talk about the panelists really quick.
Yeah.
And I'm probably going to hash their names. But Hildegard Koenig, she's a domestic violence survivor. She works in the mayor's office as a community liaison. She sits on numerous boards for domestic violence, trains faith leaders, school, college administration, community volunteers, speaks all over the U.S., is disabled for life due to her abuse. She is actively involved in raising domestic violence awareness in the island, refugee, Hispanic, Native American, LGBTB, and disabled community. Wow. I mean, that one right there.
She does a lot.
Wow.
And
our next panelist for the evening is Brandy Farmer. She's a domestic violence survivor as well, Utah crime prevention specialist, worked for the Utah's DA's office, sits on Salt Lake Domestic Violence, or SLDVC, I'm not sure exactly what that is, and many other boards, has written and co-written many laws and Utah dating violence curriculum for schools, colleges, chairs the Civico Centro Mexicano, is very active and well-respected in the community, has been advocating and speaking in Utah for 30 years.
These are impressive people.
Impressive people. And then just recently got confirmed as Justin Boardman. He's a detective with WVPD, victim advocate, sits on the Rape Recovery Center board and the UCASA board, trains medical personnel /ER nurses /police officers on how to recognize domestic violence, speaks all over the U.S., and is very active in the community with fundraising for domestic violence programs and raising awareness.
I think this is going to be such an insightful thing.
So we're also working on this. This whole event is in collaboration with I Am Change. And that's kind of where, she shot over a list of people that would be good on the panel, and these three individuals stood out, and that's why I selected them to be part of the panel. And it's going to be a really fun night. The doors are going to open at 7:00. Mm-hmm. The actual event we should start the panel about 7:30.
7:30, yeah.
7:30 to 8:30. We'll get you out of there by 9, so you can get out and enjoy your Friday night and do whatever you want to do. Again, go to iamsaltlake.com/domestic violence to buy your tickets and to find out more about the event. It's gonna be.
Let's have some real talk.
It's real talk. But let's see what else we got going on, Chrissy. I want to talk about our Patreon.
Yes.
We got some koozies in.
We did.
I'm really excited. If you're following us on social media, you probably already seen pictures for them. Chrissy, went out and got some made up, and
I just go out and buy things.
And so we're going to give them away to our Patreon supporters. If you become a $5 or more monthly Patreon supporter, go to iamsaltlake.com/donate. That will send you to our Patreon page, and you can find out more about it. Patreon is like an ongoing Kickstarter.
It is.
So it's a way to continue supporting the show and continue to keep it alive. We do have a goal that we want to reach, because we would like to, get about 2 episodes a week out. We would like to kind of get up to that goal.
Yeah.
And with your help, I believe we can make that possible, so you can get your hands on a koozie as well as an I Am Salt Lake pin.
Yeah. Your choice of Charles or I Am Salt Lake until we run out. And
I don't say that on the Patreon but we will send you a Charles pin if you would rather.
If you really listen, you'll know.
If you would rather have that instead of an I Am Salt Lake pin. But your support, it means a lot. I mean, we have even a $1 Patreon support option.
Just to let us know you care.
I love it. I love it to find out when the listeners. I know you're out there and you care, but it's nice when you are able to support the show monetarily. And if you can't, there's other ways to support the show.
Absolutely.
You can tweet about your favorite show, Facebook.
Share it with friends, family.
And most important, you can leave an iTunes review, which we have 2 iTunes reviews.
Take you 5 minutes.
I don't even think it takes 5 minutes to leave an iTunes review.
2 minutes.
We have two recent iTunes reviews I want to read here really quick, if that's okay.
Absolutely.
This one is very recent. It's from Ashutane Babies podcast. Again, I'm not sure if I pronounced that right, but they said, "I love listening to this podcast. It's awesome. Keep up the good work." So thank you very much.
Thanks.
Short, sweet, simple. It's a way to do it. And then Jeff Robb, M.A., writes, "Great conversations. Really enjoys the conversations on I Am Salt Lake as an ex-resident of the city myself. Compelling guests and a host who asks good questions."
That is true.
So thank you very much, Jeff, for that review.
Doesn't it make you want to move back to Salt Lake?
I think so. Well, and I want to touch base on this. I know I've mentioned this previously, but I think it's so awesome that all these people outside of Salt Lake City listen to this podcast.
Yeah. It's nice because it's so great to be able to share it. Share all the things that everyone's doing here.
And I think everybody misses this city when they move away.
Oh, I would.
Think about if you and I ever move away. If we ever, for some reason, our jobs pull us away or something like that. I would horribly miss Salt Lake City.
I would. I have missed it. That's the thing. We were actually at a wedding talking to your mom and her friends, and we were talking about all the places we've lived, and they asked me, "What's your favorite place you've lived?" And I said, "Here." And I've lived a ton of places in the U.S. because there's just something here that you don't get other places.
It's not there. There's a community. There's just, you got that small town feel with that big town vibe.
Exactly.
And so, back to those iTunes reviews. Thank you very much. It takes just a second. Just go to iTunes, leave a review. That helps boost the ratings. It gets the podcast exposed to more people. More people find out about the show. We get more listeners, and the show grows.
Which is exactly our goal.
I think that's about it for this week, unless you got any other notes you want to talk about.
No, I just would really encourage anyone who's in Utah to come to our panel.
Come to that panel October 14th. We'd love to meet you. Let us know if you're coming. I mean, that way we can kind of keep an eye out for you.
Yeah, we'd love to meet you.
I'd love to meet you, shake your hand, and thank you for listening to the podcast. Again, that's October 14th. I want to, thank our sponsors again, Distillery 36. Go to their website, distillery36.com, and then Oleo Skin and Beard, oleoskin.com.
Thanks, everyone.
Yeah, thank you so much. IamSaltLake.com is our website. Head on over there. There's all the links to connect with us right there online. We're not going to smother you with everything this week as we normally do. You all have a great week. Get out, support local. It's going to be a beautiful week, and we'll see you again.
We'll see you next week.
See you on the next episode. Bye now.